Hi, my name's Larry, and I've been listening to a lot of the videos on YouTube about coming out. And I've been really impressed, because these guys who are doing them are like so cute now, but that's not why I've been really impressed. I'm really impressed because times have changed a lot since I came out. People are coming out at a very young age, 12 and 13, 14. And also, at least some of the people I've heard doing videos on YouTube have gotten fairly good reactions from their parents. This was not typical when I came out, and that's why I'd like to tell you about this really cute old guy and tell my coming out story, which happened over 30 years ago in 1977 and 78. Now, the first part of my story is rather dark, because being in a closet is a rather dark experience. Although I lived in Washington, D.C., the first part of this story takes place in Charlottesville, Virginia. I was studying there for a few months. And so I was away from my friends. I was fairly alone there. And I heard about a gay student group. And I lived by myself. I rented a room from somebody. So there was nobody else in the room. And I made myself say out loud, I am going to the gay student group because I'm a gay student. I said that in a whisper when there was nobody around to hear me, and I only said it once. But it was one of the most difficult things I ever did in my life. Well, the truth is I never did go to the gay student group in Charlottesville, but I found a very easy way to come out to the very first person I came out to. Her name was Kay, and Kay was my pen pal. She lived in Colorado. And so I wrote to Kay and I told her, I'm gay, and you're the first person I'm telling. I figured Kay didn't know anybody I knew, and besides that, if I lost her, I was just losing a pen pal. Fortunately, I didn't lose her. She wrote back, and she was very supportive. So that was the first person I came out to. The next chapter of this story happens in Washington, D.C. This is where I had been living before I went to Charlottesville. And I returned to Washington, and I moved in with my college roommate and my best friend, whose name was Fred. Now, Fred and I had a group of friends, and we had them all over for a party one night. And they all left, except for one, and her name was Jenny. Jenny had a habit of drinking a little too much, and so Fred and I said to her, Jenny, do you want us to drive you home? And Jenny said, no, let's go out and party some more. So we went out, we went downtown D.C., and we walked into this bar. It was called the Fraternity House. Well, what we figured out pretty quickly was this was a gay bar, and we all left. Wouldn't you know, a few weeks later, this very same situation presents itself. Fred and me and Jenny, who had a little bit too much to drink. This time Jenny says, let's go to the fraternity house. And Fred and I said, hey, that sounds like a good idea. This time we went there, and we didn't leave. We went in, and it was a disco. And this was the age of disco. And the funny thing about it was that Jenny was getting kind of amorous due to her intoxicated state and wanted to make out. This was the first time in my life I ever French kissed with a woman, and the first time in my life I've ever been in a gay bar. Now that is a weird experience. But we danced, we made out in the gay bar. And then after it was over, we found out there was an after-hours bar. We went there, we danced, made out some more, did this until almost dawn. Well, subsequent to that, I went back to the fraternity house by myself. You see, I had all my life felt like I was the only one in the room, the only gay person in the room. And just being in that bar, even though I didn't talk to anybody, the idea that I was surrounded by people like me was just an exhilarating experience. So I kept going, and funny thing, I ran into Fred there. In fact, more than once I ran into Fred, and he seemed to know some people there. Fred said he went for the music, I said I went for the music, and we left it at that. I'll get back to that in a bit. It may seem a strange thing, but religion had a lot to do with why I came out. About this time, after I had been going to these bars, I went on a retreat. And on the retreat, the Bible story they were discussing was the wedding at Cana. Now, in the wedding at Cana, Mary asked Jesus to do something about the water, about there was no wine. And Jesus says, "Woman, do you know it is not my time?" And yet she tells him it is his time. And he turns the water into wine. Well, if there's one Bible story that's telling you it's time to come out of the closet, I think that's it. And I took that kind of as a sign. And so, when I did my actual coming out, that I couldn't say I was going there to listen to the disco music, was February 12th, 1978. And on that day I went to a group called Dignity, which is a gay Catholic group. Of course, it's not something the Catholic Church sanctions, but it exists anyway. The first time I went, I talked to the women because I was scared to talk to the men. But eventually I got to know some of the guys. And the president of that group, whose name was Joe Totten, took a shine to me. And as a matter of fact, at the next big party they had, I ended up going home with him and having my first adult sexual experience. Joe became kind of a mentor to me, and I can say in my later life I've tried to provide that guidance to people who are just coming out. But it was really great. Eventually I decided I had to tell Fred, and so one day I said, "Fred, do you want to know why I've been going to the gay bars?" And he said, "No, you don't have to tell me." Well, I said, "Fred, I'm gay." And he took it all right, but he seemed a little uncomfortable. Well, the next day, I find out Fred is gay too. So go figure. So as it turns out, it was a pretty happy ending. Here I had Fred, somebody from my old life, now part of my new life. So we were both coming out together. I joined Dignity, I joined a lot of other gay groups, and met a lot of wonderful people. And let me tell you, I had some fabulous sex, but this is YouTube. I don't want to go into too much detail there. But all in all, it was a great experience coming out. It was an adventure, and I would encourage anybody to do it. I mean, when the time is right, do it. So, thank you.